that I found? Chuck, not now. Hello, welcome to Cozy Knitting Corner, where we work on our knitting and discuss Hallmark Channel movies. Well, and other romance movies, mostly Hallmark Channel movies though. I'm Cece, and today I am working on a scarf, a lacy scarf. You can see that pretty pattern there with this really cool yarn that's like a teal and a purple, like a lilac purple and a silver thread all combined together. It makes me think of like mermaids and unicorns. It's very pretty in person and very soft, very nice. So while I'm working on that, I'm going to be talking about the movie Romance in the Air, which just premiered on Hallmark Channel this past Saturday. Not to be confused with Love in the Air, which is what I have literally been calling it all week. All of my notes have Love in the Air. Everything, when I was making everything, planning my schedule, everything said Love in the Air. And then when I was trying to find it again, I'm like, why can't I find it online? That's because it's called Romance in the Air. So even my notes file that I have saved is saved under Love in the Air. So I fixed it in the actual document, but the file itself, I'm like, well, Love in the Air. But no, Romance in the Air. What am I doing? I gotta pay attention. This pattern actually requires me to pay attention to it. I can't just stitch along like nothing matters. Alright, quick synopsis of this movie. I guess I should say spoilers if you haven't seen it and somehow feel like a Hallmark movie can be spoiled, because they are very formulaic. But anyways, so it starts with Eden. She's working for a marketing firm, and she's doing this big pitch for a client. It goes terribly. The client doesn't like it, and her boss is like, you know what? You're working a little bit too hard. I think you need to take a vacation. And she's like, what? I can work harder. He's like, yeah, that's not the problem. Take some time off. So she and her best friend Kate head off to Lake Tahoe, where her parents have this beautiful second home on Lake Tahoe, just to hang out and relax for an undetermined length of time, several weeks at least. That's nice. And while she's there, she runs into her neighbor Riley, whom she knew from growing up during the summers she spent there. They apparently had a little bit of a teen summer romance her last summer she was there, but she hasn't been back since she was like a teenager, 18, 19 years old. So it's been like a decade since they've seen each other, maybe longer. You know, I never know how old these Hallmark people are supposed to be. They're sort of this sort of undetermined age between like 25 and 40. They land somewhere in there. And I feel like it's hard to tell because the actors that are playing these parts are usually older than the part they're supposed to be playing. So, you know, you have like a 40-year-old playing 25. So it's like you can't just look at them and know how old they are. So we'll just guess that they're roughly supposed to be 30. So it's been a decade since they've seen each other. Well, he has started a business where he gives hot air balloon rides to tourists around Lake Tahoe, and his business is not doing very well. So she decides to help him out with his marketing and sort of rediscovers her love of marketing. And naturally, the two of them start to get really close. They hang out a lot. But then, just as Riley's business is starting to pick up, he decides to come over to thank Kate for all the work she's done, and at the same time, her boyfriend Michael shows up to surprise her at the house, and it's like, oh, surprise! Eden has a boyfriend. So she ends up, and she's also getting calls from work saying, yeah, we need you to come back. So her boyfriend, and Kate all go back to somewhere in California. It was probably LA or something, where they all live. And she is at work, and she's got her mojo back, so she's crushing it in the marketing, but her heart's not in it. So she up and quits her job, dumps Michael, and goes back to Lake Tahoe and Riley and decides to go into business for herself. Basically, just doing marketing just for herself. So she doesn't work for a firm anymore. So people call her and hire her directly. And there you go. That's the movie in a nutshell. So usually the first thing I review is the setting. I have never been to Lake Tahoe. I have never seen Lake Tahoe. If it is even half as beautiful as these shots of Lake Tahoe were, I have got to get there. Oh my gosh, it was gorgeous. Gorgeous. I mean, the lake, the mountains, and the trees, it was, oh, I love a lake and mountains. I live in New Hampshire, where, well, basically, you know, everybody and their mother comes to New Hampshire in the summertime for our lakes and mountains because they are spectacular. So, in fact, I'm leaving to spend a week on a lake in like 3 days. Yay, vacation. And so just the combination of the lake and mountains, it was breathtaking. So I have added Lake Tahoe to my list of places I would like to visit someday. And then the house that her parents own but like never go to anymore, and she hasn't been to in like over a decade, and I'm like, hello? You have this just stunningly gorgeous lake house that you never go to? If my parents had a lake house, I would be there every weekend. Now, granted, I don't know how far it is travel time from wherever in California she lived and wherever Lake Tahoe is. If it requires plane flights, then I can understand probably not being able to afford to be there all the time. But I definitely wouldn't have gone 10, 15, however many years and not gone once. I would have been at least there twice a year.
Feel free to call me to dust this place off any time.
I know. I barely recognize it. I don't think I've been here since before my freshman year in college. Wow, has it been that long?
But anyways, it was gorgeous. The lake, gorgeous. The shots, gorgeous. That house, gorgeous. Everything, gorgeous. I would love to spend some time there. So we've got our two main characters, Eden and Riley. They don't really have a meet cute per se because technically they already knew each other. They grew up together practically. So when she runs into him for the first time, she recognizes him and she's like, oh my god, Riley. He's like, oh my god, Eden. And they embrace and they're like, how are you? How's it going? It's been a long time. I know, crazy, right? What have you been doing in your life? That kind of stuff. So, yeah, totally normal, actually. It was very realistic in terms of how you react with someone you hadn't seen in a long time, but used to be friendly with. So, totally normal. Nothing really special or remarkable about that interaction. For Kate, I could relate to her in her struggle about what she was going to do with her life. Like at the very beginning, the way she's talking about her clients and products, and she's basically bombing this pitch. It's obvious to me she's burned out. As someone who has experienced burnout, I was like, ooh, girl, I've been there. I knew exactly. So when her boss is coming in, he's like, yeah, you need to take a vacation. I was like, he's right. You need a vacation. Yeah, obvious to anyone who knows those signs. And she's like, no, I'll just work harder. And I'm like, girl, that's not the answer. That is not the answer. Trust me. No. All right. My cats keep attacking my camera stand. Anyways, where was I? So yeah, so she's burned out. So she goes on this vacation. She's like, I really liked marketing, but it's something I sort of fell into after school. Is it just because I'm really good at it? I used to be passionate about it, or is it just, am I supposed to do something else? I don't know what the hell I'm doing with my life. And I'm like, oh. I relate to that so hard. I have found myself on multiple career paths that I'm just like, why? Why am I here? Okay, yeah, maybe I'm good at it, but why? Do I enjoy this? Do I just like working hard? Having something to do with my time? I don't know. So yeah, every time she was talking about like I don't know what to do, I was with her. I was with her like with that. So I was really glad at the end that she was able to figure out what she wanted to do with her life. I still have not figured out what I'm doing with mine. But, well, we'll see. I guess we'll find out with time. As for Riley, yeah, I don't have anything to say about him. I got nothing, honestly. Yeah, no. The secondary characters, first of all, there's the best friend Kate. Ugh, I found Kate super annoying. Every time Eden was with Riley, Kate would be like, I see the way you're looking at each other. I'm like, really? Really? I mean, I guess there are people like that. We all have those friends that are just like, you can't even do anything without them jumping to conclusions or making assumptions about what's going on. Because so many times, it's like I'll just mention someone offhand and they'll be like, ooh, you guys in a relationship? And I'm like, are you thinking about it? I'm just like, no. I can have friends. Not every man I meet is a romantic interest. Some are just friends. We're happy with that relationship. Stop reading everything into it. Especially initially. Like, oh my god, like they had just seen each other after years. And they're like being friendly and she's like, ooh, I see something there. And I'm like, really? I felt like it was just that sort of awkward, I haven't seen you in a long time, how you doing kind of conversation. There was absolutely nothing there. Nothing, Kate. You are crazy. So yeah, Kate did nothing for me. Michael, Eden's boyfriend, so he seemed like a very decent guy. When she first, when Kate first tells Michael that her boss is like, oh, you need some time off, he's like, yeah, that would be really good for you. You're great at your career. I'm really supportive of you. But I think it would be great if you took some time off. It'll be really healthy for you. See, look, he's supportive of her career and her mental health because he's a good boyfriend. And then later, he would regularly call to check in on her, make sure everything was going all right. And then midway through, he decides to surprise her, to show up at the cabin, because originally he wanted to go, but work was really busy, he couldn't leave. But then when he gets there, he's like, oh, you know what, I realized I was thinking about it, and I realized how much you're going through and how important, you know, this struggle is, and I really need to be here for you, so here I am. You're like, oh, what a good boyfriend. You know, he really cares about her, really supportive, genuinely caring about what she's going through and how she's feeling. And then she goes and dumps him for Riley. And that's when they drop this bomb, which is like, oh, well, you know what, it turns out Michael and Kate had a little thing for each other, and they end up together in the end. Yeah, that's like, she's literally breaking up with him, and he's like, yeah, we're just comfortable, because the truth is, I guess I kind of feel a little bit in love with Kate. And Eden's like, oh yeah, let's, and then she literally sets up Kate and Michael to go to his big promotion dinner at work, that she was supposed to go with him to, which she literally breaks up with him moments before they're supposed to leave. It's just incredibly lazy storytelling. Because, let's be honest, they want you to sympathize with Eden. She's the heroine. They want her to have your attention. You want to feel good about Eden. And the truth is, she has just treated Michael horribly. I mean, when she's spending all this time with Riley, let's be honest, she treated Riley terrible too, because when she's hanging out with Riley, they even had a conversation, like all the time she could have mentioned Michael. She never does. They even expressly discussed, like, relationships, because she's like, are you married? Are you married? Like, that would have been the perfect time to announce, hey, I have a boyfriend. But does she? No, she doesn't. No, she doesn't. So, she's basically leaning on Riley. Meanwhile, in the meantime, completely ignoring Michael. Like, just terrible girlfriend. And then he's super excited about this big promotion and this big dinner to commemorate it. He's like, you know, you're going to be back in time for this. She's like, oh, absolutely, I'll be back in time for this. And she's like, oh, shoot, I forgot that was tonight. So instead of, you know, quickly throwing on a dress and going with him, she's like, oh, yeah, you know what, in fact, I'm going to dump you. So all of that, you think, wow, she is a horrible person. Horrible, horrible, horrible person. But they don't want you to think she's a horrible person. So like, we need to make it somehow redeemable. I know, let's have Michael and Kate be in love with each other, and that'll solve everything. And it didn't. It just fell flat, and it was very sad. Very sad. In fact, this is the second movie in a row where we've had the main female character have a boyfriend who is kind, caring, supportive, everything you're looking for in a romantic partner. Truly a partner that they've dumped for some guy they sort of just met. And honestly, I'm starting to get tired of, like, why? Why do you gotta do these guys dirty like that? Hallmark, why? You know what I'd like to see? I'd like to see a Hallmark Channel movie where she has a kind, supportive boyfriend, and then she goes back home to her hometown, runs into her old flame, sparks fly a little bit, but then she's like, you know what, no. I found love with another man, and there was a reason why this relationship ended in the first place. I'm not going to fall back into that trap. I'm going to live, and then in the end, she chooses her boyfriend over her old flame. Like, come on, let's give us something a little more realistic or normal life, and stop dragging these poor boyfriends. Or, here's a crazy idea, like not have him have a boyfriend in the first place. Actually be single and available when they start a relationship in these movies. Crazy, I know, right? Crazy. Alright, so just some final thoughts. Things that didn't really fit into any of my categories, but I made notes of during the movie. So at one point they go hiking. I myself am a hiker. I know, you're looking at me going like, yeah, well, some fat girls hike too. So she's got like these like these specialized hiking backpacks. I don't have a special backpack when I go hiking. I literally carry like a school backpack. It's got areas for pens and stuff. But they've got like legit hiking backpacks with water bladder, hoses and everything. And she's wearing jean shorts. Like seriously? What? You got the gear, but not the clothes? Like, obviously you probably work out. Don't you have just like gym shorts or leggings or something, like normal exercise clothes? But no, she's going in jean shorts.
We hike up here a couple times each summer you visited, didn't we?
At least. The view must really be good.
And speaking of the clothes, the Kate and Eden in this movie, of course, in the classic Hallmark movie wardrobe, lots of adorable sundresses, cute little skinny jean and blousey top combos, different shoes, all of these different outfits, every scene, different outfit, adorable, always well put together, fantastic, no surprises there, except when they showed up at Lake Tahoe, guess how many suitcases they had? They each had one suitcase that was like this big, this wide, sort of this little bit tall, like your standard can fit in the overhead bin suitcase. And I'm like, there is no way all of those clothes were in those suitcases. It was. So maybe there were more suitcases we just didn't see, because they could not have fit all of the millions of clothes that they wore over the weeks that they were in Tahoe in those itty bitty little baby suitcases. One thing I did note was, a lot of the time when Riley and, oh shoot, I'm supposed to be knitting, not purling. Every time. Whenever Kate and Riley got together, they talked a little bit about what they've been doing with their lives since they last saw each other. They also did a lot of reminiscing, Oh, remember that time that you, oh, remember that time you, remember that time we, remember that time. And I hate that. Maybe not everyone feels this way, but I hate that so much. It is so irritating. Like, it's one thing to reminisce with people. I'm trying to think, it's like when I get together with friends, we rarely reminisce. Unless it's like specific to the context. I don't know, if it's a reunion or something, a specific event, like the anniversary of a specific event, then yeah, sort of you talk about that time. But it's like, you're talking about it with the people who were there. As the audience, we were not there. Therefore, we get absolutely no emotional connection to those events of the past. It offers us nothing. I think they just put it in for like context, like, oh yeah, back when we were kids, this sort of represents the relationship that we had, so you the audience understand. But honestly, I'm just like, I don't care about your past. You constantly bringing up, oh, remember this, remember that time, like that does nothing for me emotionally, because I wasn't there. So I'm not reminiscing, and listening to you do it is just annoying. So that's probably just me though. I don't know if everyone else feels that way. And even when I'm doing it with people, like, and even when I do it with friends and family, like, it doesn't even go there. Like, remember that time we, it's way more natural in the conversation. Like, I'm trying to think. My sister and I were reminiscing the other day, but we weren't really reminiscing. We were hiking, and she's like, "Oh man, I hope it's not like that time we went hiking." And I was like, "Well, actually, the truth is, I'd forgotten all about that time we'd gone hiking." And she was describing it for me because I'd forgotten it, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, that sounds like us. Yeah, I can't believe I've forgotten that." And then that was it. Like, it was relevant to the actual thing we were doing, and it had context. It wasn't just random reminiscing. So, I don't know. Maybe you like reminiscing. If you do, comment below, but it's not for me, at least not in movies. I did like all the hot air balloon scenes. I like a hot air balloon. I think they're beautiful. That whole hot air balloon like skimming over the water, that is really cool. I didn't know hot air balloons do that. I've never seen one on a lake before. I've had them come over my house in the past, but I'd never seen them go over water like that, so that was really cool. There's this one scene at the end of the movie where Eden, you know, she's back doing her marketing thing for her firm. She's doing this whole big pitch, and in her final slide for the client, she has this picture of, you know, like botanicals, and in the middle there's this hot air balloon. And the client's like, I don't feel like that fits. And her boss is like, oh yeah, we'll, you know, obviously you get final say over all the ad campaigns or whatever, and we can adjust any images. And he's like, oh, well, this is my thinking behind that. And it's like, well, no, obviously they're trying to indicate that she's, even though she's back at work, her heart and mind are still at Tahoe with Riley in the hot air balloon business and all this kind of stuff. But even I don't have any history in marketing. I don't do anything visually. I don't have an eye for those kind of details. But even when that slide came up, I was like, ooh, like, that's terrible. That is terrible. Why would you do that? Anyone with even the slightest visual training would never have put that picture in there. So I'm like, couldn't she have, like, they could have done it better. Like, I know that's what they were trying to illustrate it, but wow, they made her look really incompetent at her job with that particular slide, because even I was a little put off by how terrible it looked.
And renewed. Mint floral. Mineral ingredients.
So that was all my notes on this movie. A fairly short set of notes because honestly, this movie I found was just very boring. I had like zero investment at all in it. At one point I realized that I hadn't taken a single note for like 45 minutes and was playing a game on my phone because I was just I wasn't engaged at all. Absolutely nothing was happening that made me want to watch this movie. Even writing up my notes, like, I had to look for things to say about it because I'm like, yeah, like my review of Riley, and I'm like, yeah, I have absolutely nothing to say about him, because that was that movie. I love when movies are like so bad they're good. Like like a train, you can't look away because it's just so horrible. This was not that. It was just bad I wish I was doing something else with my time right now. Yeah. Completely forgettable. I'm like, it's only been a few days since I watched it, because it just came out this week, and already I'm like, what actually happened in this movie? I'm like, yeah, Eden and Riley, they meet each other. There's 50 minutes of stuff in between, and then the ending is she goes back to him. And I'm like, what? What happened in there? Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. There was some hot air balloons, some hiking. I think they went to the beach once or twice. Actually, there was a scene where I think they did like wakeboarding. No, were the ones where you stand on the boards and paddleboard, something like that. Like, I was barely even watching at that point because I was just so checked out because I'm like, I didn't care. He's like teaching her how to paddleboard, and I'm like, maybe he was supposed to show them growing closer together, but I think that was the point where I was actually playing on my phone because I couldn't even be bothered to watch anymore. So, completely and utterly forgettable movie. But if you like really great scenery, Tahoe looked fantastic. The hot air balloons, really cool. And what the hell am I doing? Yeah, this would be probably, that's right. Otherwise, just, I'd skip it. It was an overall wholly forgettable movie. Because I've already forgotten most of it, and it's literally been 3 days. Alright, with that, have a great week. Keep on with your knitting. And enjoy a movie or two. Oh, that was supposed to be knit. Alright. Yarn over. And slip, knit. Alright, we got it. We got it.